Alright, we are rolling. So, this is a Let's Play. It's going to be the full game of Aladdin on Super Nintendo. And in my opinion, a super underrated game. I think a lot of it is just because the Sega Genesis version gets a lot of hype. Got a lot of hype back then, too. It really is graphically a beautiful game. But take aside the graphics, the sprite art, which is amazing in the Genesis version, and virtually everything else is better in the Super Nintendo version. We're talking sound. I mean, definitely gameplay. It's a Capcom game. It's a Capcom platformer, a Capcom Disney platformer. And that's very hard to go wrong with. So I'm not going to be perfect at this game, but I've played this a couple times in my life. And finally, have a setup here, temporary, just for tonight. But I have my TV stream split, so I'm not playing off of the capture card, because that's just about impossible with a platformer. I mean, feel free to give it a try. Okay, so this is kind of hidden, but that is the rag. The rag is the most important item in this entire game, despite, again, being kind of hidden. The rag lets you hover, and when you think about platformers, almost every platformer, every 2D platformer has to have a gimmick. Really, any platformer, the gimmick is important. What makes this platformer different than other platformers? For Aladdin, it's the hover. And it's interesting that it's the hover because that item's kind of hidden. Okay, another thing that happens, we got a red kind of sphere with a heart in it, and that gives you a permanent increase to your health. Green gems are coins. You get 100 of these gems, you get yourself an extra heart and as well, so an extra hit point basically. The red gems, there's I think 10 of them per each, I guess stage is what they call them in the game. 3 boards per stage. Or actually I think less in some cases. Anyway, there's 10 red gems. You get them all, and every stage, I think there's 7 stages, you get the best ending. I think the best ending is something like a screen that says you got all the gems. I've never gotten it. I don't know where they all are. Oh, we just missed the genie, but we get the credit. So 1 up and 2 up, just a couple extra lives. Honestly, better. Because the credit, while in theory, that's better, you get an extra continue, basically. You lose the rag if you have to continue, and the rag is love and life in this game. You can obviously beat it without the rag, and if you wanted to challenge yourself, I think that's exactly the way you should do it, and I think that's probably why it's optional. But then it's also kind of a hop and bop platformer, and a really good one. But kind of by the numbers, not much jumps out as different in that case. So it's something you can do, not necessarily something you should. The turkey there refills your life completely. Well, guess we'll get it. Whereas a loaf of bread will give you 1 heart back. Good thing I did all that. And if that barrel hits you, he actually laughs at you. I'm using, I think this is an 8-bit wireless controller. I'm not super impressed with it just yet. I feel like it doesn't feel exactly the same. And I have a Retro-bit wireless as well, and that's nowhere close to the real deal, so given the choice is still your better. So, alright, here's a great graphical effect. So I tend to think more highly of this game than I think your average bear would. That was pretty embarrassing. I'll be a little rusty. I break my games up into, when I think about rating games, which is ultimately one of the big missions of the channel here, I think of games as games. Then there's bronze games, silver games, and gold games, and that's a numeric scale. So the gold ones are under a point away from a perfect score. Silver are 1 to 2, bronze 2 to 3. But when I think about what it makes a bronze game, there's only I think about 33 of these. My gatekeeper game is Aladdin on Super Nintendo. So while it's numeric, it's just kind of a final test. The question is this better than Aladdin? And if it is, it's a bronze game. If it's not, kind of got to reevaluate. So you do have a projectile. The apples, they don't kill much in this game. You'll occasionally be able to knock something out with an apple, but for the most part, it's like a stunning item, which is fine. You need those too, and I guess that would qualify as something that makes it a little different than. When I think about what's the most average platformer in the world, I think about it on the SNES rankings site where it's like the Yogi Bear game for Super Nintendo, where there's just nothing else going on basically. Very little else going on. You move to right and jump. Okay, I'll show you 2 ways to beat this guy. Option A, hit him, jump up here, let him exhaust himself. Do it again. Option B, I just found this out recently. You hit him with an apple, it interrupts that cycle, so hit him with the apple is a little faster. Ultimately, it doesn't really change anything. It just gets you through there a little bit quicker. Pretty decent haul of gems for World 1, 2. A couple extra lives. We're in good shape. We will be skipping the cutscenes today. If you want to see the cutscenes, the gameplay and talk version, or the gameplay and talk Let's Play of this has them all, and it's a really good Let's Play. It doesn't have 100% red gem completion, but either does this one. This is really just a chance to play a game I really love, and I'm super fond of this. The thing with platformers too, and video games in general, is I think there's, especially with 16-bit, 8-bit games, there's this idea that harder is better, and I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I don't have time to master things. So, basically, if you just want to play a game, play a platformer, a good one, it doesn't have to be frustrating, it's just a good time. Games can be relaxing too, and I play games to relax primarily. This is it. This is like the best it gets for a relaxation platformer. With possible exceptions here, if you consider Super Mario World that way, and you could, hard to argue there. And most, if not any hits, or if not all hits, are my own fault here. I'm using the capture card and everything, and the streaming splitter and everything, but it shouldn't be too bad of a lag here. Alright, so when you grab that flying scarab, there's one in I think almost every stage. I don't think the Magic Carpet Ride stage has one. You get a break time where you spin the wheel. Again, you want the 1-up, the 2-up, or the genie. The heart's not bad, that's what we're gonna get. It's gonna just give us 1 extra heart. Refill our hearts. And the genie one I think actually gives you an extra heart. So it's completely conceivable you could end up with 2 complete rows of hearts in this game. But just musically, this game is a freaking treat. And this ought to give us an extra heart, yep. But not an extra life. And we're doing just fine on those. Ooh, that was a tight one. This is not a scenario either where I'm like really good at a game. I think of all the people on this planet who have YouTube channels dedicated primarily to video games, I'm probably the worst at video games of like all these people. I'm not great. You know, pretty much I played a lot of Madden 96 growing up and got good at that one. And then everything else, yeah, I didn't have time for. But this is just a pretty easy game. It's a pretty relaxing game. So if I look good, it's just a game. There's another red sphere with that heart in there right here. So we've already got 5 and a 6, the extra. So we're starting that second row off already. And this is how I learned the word infidels growing up. I did see Aladdin growing up. Everyone who was born in like the 80s and grew up in the 90s has seen Aladdin. That's part of getting your, I think it's your driver's license. But we didn't own Aladdin. We owned a lot of the Disney movies. So it was not like I was a deprived child or something. But Aladdin was one we did not have. My cousins had it. So we got to see plenty of it. Of course, this is on tape. My wife had a friend visit, and she brought her kids. They're gonna stay with us a couple days, and I set up a VCR and a stack of Disney movies in the bedroom. You know, they watched movies before sleep or whatever, and they could not figure out what the tapes were. So if I didn't feel old enough by, you know, sitting on my couch playing Aladdin on Super Nintendo, that sure did it. And yep, it can just grab that one if you time it just right on the treasure chest. And I think that's probably not the intended way. I think they want you to chase it to the right. But you can do it that way. Just realize I'm playing it a little bit loose here. So hopefully we get that heart power up actually, or I'd take a 2 up. Genie would be even better. As much as like the sprite work in the Genesis version is, you know, technically better, the Aladdin animation's great. Oh, just missed it. And it's not like this is a bad-looking game, so I think that advantage that Genesis has is not exactly like the biggest advantage in the world. It looks better. It doesn't look that much better. So this is actually, I was about to say before that, this is actually probably like the hardest part of the game. Comes at you a little bit early. But it wasn't just because I had one heart. These walls or those boulders are all one-hit deaths, and I know there's one really tight window coming up here. It's here. You don't have a lot of space with that boulder. That one as well, you gotta be ahead a little bit or else you're gonna catch it. But we did alright there. Alright, so I'll remember this password until the day I die. It's Genie Jafar, Aladdin Abu. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna have Alzheimer's, dementia, live in a home, whatever. And my dying words may well be Genie Jafar, Aladdin Abu. I can spit that out at any time, since the password stuck with me. This is where we deviate from the movie a little bit. Like, the genie at this point in time was bigger than Mickey Mouse. So you had to give him his own level, since he's not really featuring the game otherwise. So they take you into the genie's lamp here, which, if 10,000 years gives you a crick in the neck in this kind of space, like, you just got neck problems. Okay, now, this is relatively tough, like, compared to, I guess, the game in general. But if you have 0 lives left, that will just be clouds, and the clouds are the easiest ones to land on. So the game throws you a bone. If you just hover there, you will make it. You'll just have to grab onto the ledge. So these tornadoes coming up, we used to say, like, uh-oh, if one of those hits you, you got to go back to the start of the game, or it brings you back to an earlier level. And that's not true. They just take off a heart of health. It shows you, for one thing, we weren't getting hit by it. Oh, how'd I blow that one? There you go. But I think, as best as I can tell, we probably got that idea from Mario 3. Alright, we got the scarab, so let's see how we do here. I think I was a little late for the genie, but we'll see. Oh, there's a chance here. 2 up. Alright, that's fantastic. I think that maxes us out at... Oh, no, that's right. I lost one, so 1 more to get maxed up. Alright. No time limits in Aladdin either. So, there where I was rushing, there's no reason to ever do that. So if you want to collect all those gems and give yourself another heart, I think that's a great idea. Someone's got to explain to me the pot with wings, though. We used to pause on the genie's head there, see what kind of expressions we could get him to make. And here it looks like the genie's mouth is becoming either a safety pin or a Q-tip. And that's the genie's lamp. So we moved from one, I guess, departure from the movie to another. I guess they couldn't come up with enough, like, different stages for 7. So here, while they're escaping from the Cave of Wonders, Abu falls into a pyramid. So you're now in a pyramid, which I don't think happens in the movie, right? Like, I'd remember a sudden departure into the Prince of Egypt. Also, I totally know it's not in the movie. You know, your boy had his honeymoon in Disney World. It's not. I'm a ringer, so. This is the scarab, right? Yeah, so pretty tough one here. Just missed it. We're catching some SNES slowdown here and there. Ah, blew it. So that sand moves to the left, and for one thing, it'll mess with your momentum a little bit. But then the other thing it actually does is whenever there's sand falling down a wall, you cannot grab those walls. And you can grab every other wall before that in the game, basically. So that's a big change, and something if you're not prepared for the first time through, you're going to lose a life. Same strategy, same miss. Now the sword guys that are in purple, they can actually dodge your apples, so all that for a heart. That's not like a tough platforming section, but relative to the rest of the game, that's a little tricky. Alright, we are maxed out on apples. You get 10 per apple you collect, which is plenty. Fortunately, not a Mega Man game. So, I mean, like, you want to use the rag in this game. Even still, if you suck like I do. Checkpoints are a little rough in this one, too. So you gotta pretty much redo it. That's alright. Oh, something's down here, right? Yeah. Too much of a hurry. Don't you hate when sand turns into a bat? Okay, and apparently you must max out at 7? Unless, I don't know. No one pay attention to me. I'd love to know, like, the canon behind the pyramid inclusion. Is it just like, well, Agrabah, that's like the Middle East-ish. So, Egypt. Now, I have a theory, I have a headcanon on Aladdin. And I know I'm not the only one who's ever said this. I don't think this is original thought. If it is, I'm very surprised by it. But Agrabah doesn't exist, right? And it's never existed. There's never been a nation called Agrabah. That's because Agrabah hasn't existed yet. Aladdin takes place in the future. And that's how the genie knows all those strange references, there's the Apple Dutch, that he couldn't possibly have known unless the 1990s already happened. Here's a boss fight. And it's Abu, he can't hurt you, and you jump on him once. And you leave the pyramid. Alright, so we are pretty much there. This is a bonus stage. You cannot die in this stage. So just get as many gems as you can. Nah, blew that one. Take a look at the beautiful scenes. Yeah, you can't go backwards, so watch it with the running forward. You can't get something behind you, I should say. So that's toast. I'll never get it. But I did alright here. I think I acquitted myself okay. Let's say here, bonus clear. So, yep, you have made it to the final level already. We are about half an hour in, and I have not done the best job I could do, or someone could do. I've certainly not speedrun it. I've been using the hover as much as I possibly could. There's our 2 rows I think I promised you. And yet, despite all that, we're at the final world here, final stage. Don't mind if I do. It just platforms really well. This control is fantastic. I mean, this is a ridiculously underrated platformer. Here's a fun thing you can do. You use those, you drop fire, and yeah, you light people on fire in this Disney game. You just use him, and you don't blow it, like I did the first time around. And that one's easy enough to get too. At this point, anything's good. Alright, we'll take the credit. So, I mean, getting a game over in this is... You almost would have to try. I don't know what the game over screen looks like. Again, like, you know, I'd love to see what someone who's good at video games could do with this. Because I am not really that guy. But I've played a lot of Aladdin. And over the years... I've gone alright at this, and then again, this is just... in the grand scheme of things, one of the easier games that exist. Now, what's really funny is, like, Aladdin's... This is an easy game, but The Lion King, which is not a Capcom game, which is probably your real difference there, that's harder than Triceratops turds. I mean... I blew that, but we used to say these were couches. And they do look like there's a seat and two armrests, but it's a snake thing I can now see. Okay, so... This is... Of the... I guess this is technically the third boss fight. This is the hardest one. So you can get them there. Couldn't take it back once I was in the air. The apple isn't going to do anything there for him. Got him. So that was stage 6. I actually misspoke. I guess technically speaking, they're going to call this one stage 7. This is just a final boss fight, and it's actually easier than the one we just did. Give you a Thanksgiving dinner and let you battle the serpent, Jafar. I should just want to see if I hit him in the face if anything happens. Here's where he pukes up. Yeah, nothing. Look, you can't take them with you. So I didn't execute there, but you absolutely can jump on his head from that one. And that's it. We're at 34:43. I guess a little bit behind. Stream's a couple seconds behind, but under 35 minutes. And this is a ton of fun. It's just really a fantastic platformer. We'll do the ending scene here, because otherwise you'd think, oh no, I just lost. Or something, but Here's your Mode 7 moment. Every Super Nintendo game's got one. Alright. So I want to thank you for watching. This was a lot of fun for me. It's good doing just like a one sit out and knock out a game. So a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. I hope maybe even you learned something. If not, definitely check out this game. This is awesome. If it's not something you've played before, this is super underrated. You're not going to regret it. Thank you very much.